to our food analytics session in a sec. But first, I want to thank our sponsor for making this video possible. Our presenting sponsor is Sitka Salmon Shares, monthly deliveries of premium wild-caught Alaskan seafood. Use code Cook with CAP to get $25 off the first month of a premium Sitka seafood share. Learn more about their values and fishermen at sitkasalmonshares.com. We'll drop this code and link into the chat. Our official kitchen sponsor, where we are today, is Kessenich. For over 90 years, Kessenich has provided Madison and Dane County with quality products and outstanding customer service. Stop by their showroom right here in Madison to shop like a chef because they're always open to the public. You can visit kessenich.com for more info. And last but not least, our official beverage sponsor is Luna Bay Booch. Luna Bay was started by a team of women passionate about wellness, adventure, community, and fun. And they plan to spread those values through simple, honest, boozy booch. They created a naturally brewed hard kombucha with wholesome, ethically sourced ingredients. All products are gluten-free, low in sugar, vegan, which is perfect for tonight, and naturally fermented to 6%. Thanks to Luna Bay, we're also giving away some booch to 6 lucky viewers. There's an entry link that will drop in the chat. Click that to enter to win, along with some pretty awesome Kessenich swag. And we'll pick those 6 winners. Spoiler, you gotta be 21 and up to win that booch. I also wanna thank any Cap Times members for joining us tonight. And for your continued support of local journalism and our newsroom. If you're not a member, you can become one at membership.captimes.com. We'll also post this link in the chat. Without further ado, I will now pass it off to Lindsay, who is one of Wisconsin's foremost food writers and critics, and Chef Lauren Montelbano. Enjoy the event.
Hi, Lauren.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm very happy.
Wonderful. So I'm going to do a little intro here. I just want to remind everybody, if you want to see captions, we have the ability for you to see captions. It should be at the bottom of your screen. We're going to be doing some chatting and some cooking tonight. Please drop comments and questions and thoughts and ideas and all kinds of things in the chat. And we'll get them when we can. We'll probably save some of them for opportune moments as we cook through this wonderful recipe. So my goal for this series is to encourage people, including me, to expand our comfort zones when cooking at home. I also want to introduce readers and viewers to chefs maybe you don't know or you don't know well. So I'm gonna do a quick bio for you, Lauren, here really quick. We are talking with chef and holistic nutritionist Lauren Montelbano. Lauren has been an organic farmer. She cooked on a cattle ranch in Australia. She studied cooking in India and Thailand. Since coming to Madison, she worked at Oliver's Public House and Green Owl Cafe, and she took over the kitchens at Surya Cafe in Fitchburg and at Garber Feed Mill. Now, she is the owner of The Vibrant Veg, which is the umbrella for her plant-based cooking classes, consulting, and work as a personal chef. She has a new cookbook. It's called Grounded. It is available at Orange Tree Imports. I'll put a link in the chat where you can find it fairly soon, and also on her website, thevibrantveg.com. They're inventive, nutrient-dense, plant-based meals in this cookbook. I've been cooking out of it for like a week and a half. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings, but let's just get started cooking, shall we? Let's get rolling. So I'll drop the recipe in the chat as well, so you guys can follow along if you don't have it handy, and let's rock.
All right, guys. Well, let's first make sure that you have your oven set to 375. I've got mine. I might screw it up. It's very big and intimidating. And then you're going to want to start prepping your squash and your beets. I was wise and prepped them ahead of time because I didn't want to start by getting my hands red. So I would suggest starting with your butternut squash because then you're not getting that color transfer. So you're going to want to peel them and then cut them into about 1/2 inch rounds. I'm sorry if I'm already ahead of you guys. I'm a cheater.
That is totally fine.
Well, my mom already told me that my recipe was too much for her, so she's just going to be watching for entertainment. Hi, Mom.
I love that. I feel like the big thing with these is just like if you want to make some of it and not all of it, do that. Like if you want to make different root vegetables, do that. I roasted my garlic a day ahead, like just threw it in the oven while I was doing a yoga class. Worked great. Just I feel like being flexible with it is the key. I keep being like, no one's gonna come to your house and check.
It's sad, but it's true. Nobody's going to anybody's house.
Right. Yeah.
And also, usually when I do cooking demos, it's for channel 3, and I only get 5 minutes. So I really wanted to engage my customers and my viewers a little bit more and do some fancy stuff.
Yeah. So, Lauren, why did you choose this recipe in specific?
Honestly, I just created it. I thought I want to do something fun for Lindsay. I want to do something that's visually appealing, something that has a bunch of different components that you can translate to other dishes for other days of the week. So just some skills that you'll use ongoing. So we've got our beautiful little stacks. Well, they're not stacked yet, but they will be. I liberally salt and pepper. Its flavor's never a bad idea. And then you're going to pop these into the oven, which is set to 375 and preheated. And those are going to go in for about 30 minutes. So we're going to set it and forget it.
It looks like you're using parchment paper there.
I am definitely using parchment paper. I don't like doing dishes on the best of days, and I sure don't like to cook them. Let's see if I can use this fancy thing.
Ooh.
I know, it talks to me, and it's kind of
It seems like the kind of robot that like could become sentient and like self-aware.
Yeah, and it's big, so it could do some damage.
Huh.
I know. He's like, we're gonna set you up with this big, beautiful equipment. And I was like, awesome. Okay. So next, if you haven't soaked your macadamias already, you're in trouble. But no, I'm just kidding. Hot water for about 15 minutes. Mine have been pre-soaked. They don't have to be raw. They can be roasted. Mine are roasted and salted, so they're probably going to be extra delicious. So I'm just going to put those right away in my blender. And that is going to get blended with half a cup of water, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. And this right here is one of those things that you need if you're going to be a vegan. And little known fact, in 2 tablespoons, it has 8 grams of protein. This is where we're getting it. You get to make something taste like cheese and get protein, do it.
I feel like that's definitely a gateway, like a veganism gateway, like it's nutritional yeast. I get the cheesy vegan bow ties at the co-op because they're delicious. And I don't particularly care that they're not real cheese. I like cheese, but I also like those bow ties.
They're so good. All right, so we're gonna get a little loud. Make sure that you have a good blender. This is one of my other things that I'm always recommending. Have a good blender, have a good food processor, because they do all your work for you. Why wouldn't you? Right, Lindsay, you're investing in a good blender any day.
I am throwing my current blender away because of this recipe. Like it just doesn't do its job.
I would actually like to see you go all Office Space on that and just, can we do that? I'm gonna apologize for this noise. I've got it on smoothie mode. I don't want that.
So Lauren, I don't know if you can hear me, but we can't hear anything that you're saying right now because I think The blender is just a lot.
Well, all you have to know is I was saying really witty, funny things. And I'll just keep moving my lips, or you can talk while I blend.
Yeah. Well, I thought about that. I was like, should I just sort of fill in here a little?
Yeah.
We're learning as we go here, friends. So yeah, so one of the tips I was giving about this recipe earlier today is just that pretty much every component of it you can make in advance, which is great. I like took my time with it over the weekend and just made all the different components. And then also you end up with like a bean puree that I spread it on a tortilla and like did a little like with some vegetables and did a little tortilla wrap, and you end up with this macadamia nut cheese, which you can also use on other things. So it's kind of it has all of these moving parts to it. But I thought like if you don't want to make the nut cheese, for example, there's a tree line one that you can buy, then you could still sort of make this recipe with one less step or one less component. Anyway, I thought that was helpful as I was making it myself. All right, we have a puree.
We have a nut cheese.
Look
And
at that.
That didn't take too much time. What was
No.
that? 2 minutes? It
Ooh.
depends how long you soak your macadamias for. But you see, it's kind of lofty, but it's still creamy.
One of the things that you mentioned that I learned very recently is if you're blending a recipe, you can't take it down too far or it won't work. Like you can't cut it by quarters or eighths or whatever it is. It won't work then. I didn't realize that until very recently.
Yep, which is why we're all making this much cheese. Because it'll drive you crazy if you try to blend a half a cup of nuts into cheese. You'll drive yourself crazy and you're like, I'm never making vegan cheese again. And we don't want that. We want to celebrate the cheese and you can eat it all throughout the week. So then after you're done making this cheese, go ahead and put it in the fridge. I'm going to wait to do that. But you want it to firm up a little bit because then once you put your layer put it in between your layers of root veg, it'll spread better.
Got it. Okay. So the nut cheese, you have miso in there, and I asked you earlier, like what color, and you said it doesn't matter what color.
Correct.
Right. But also like how else would you use nut cheese if you had made this yourself? Like if you had made this for yourself? Oh, a cup and a half of macadamia nuts, Meredith, in the chat. Yeah.
So how else would I use it? So I use it on sandwiches. I use it on wraps. I use it to dip vegetables in. This one's a little bit salty, but you can also use it in sweet applications like you would like a ricotta.
Nice. That sounds delicious.
Possibilities are endless. Just spoon it. You don't need anything.
Would you substitute cashews? Would that work?
Absolutely.
Nice. All right.
Those are actually my favorite thing to keep on hand and my favorite nuts to make cheese out of. This is just a little bit more decadent and rich.
Nice.
All right. So fight any urge you have to clean the blender because as you can note, there's still some cheese in there and we're going to use that to our advantage while we're making our beans. So you're going to take 15 ounces or a can of beans. You're going to take 6 cloves of roasted garlic, which hopefully you pre-roasted while you were doing a yoga class like Lindsay. And then we've got our tahini that we're going to add in there. And then also I saved 2 tablespoons of the aquafaba. What is that weird vegan thing? It is the brine from your beans. And that is actually going to help make it nice and fluffy. And then we also have a tablespoon of lemon juice. And we're just going to salt. I like to salt to taste.
So, Lauren, one of the things that you had asked about is the roasted garlic. If you didn't roast it in advance and you want to make this right now, what can you do?
If you didn't do it in advance, you can take 6 cloves of raw garlic and use a saute pan. I'm not going to do it right now because I'm going to be very distracted and I'm going to burn garlic. And then it will smell like burnt garlic. But you can take it and fill the pan almost just to cover your cloves in garlic or in oil. I'm getting feedback in here so I can hear myself say everything. It's taking me mad skills just to speak words.
You're doing amazing.
Yay. So anyway, start your garlic, if you haven't done it already, low and slow. It'll probably be done by the time we're done cooking. But then you'll have roasted garlic, and you should probably I take a ton of garlic, roast it in a pot with oil, and then just have it on hand because it's going to make everything delicious. You're never going to be sad that you have roasted garlic in the fridge.
I had extra roasted garlic from making this recipe, and I ended up using it in a marinade for chicken drumsticks, which,
oh my God.
Sorry. But it was really good. Like I had like some fresh basil and lemon, and I think I had a little bit of rosemary and the roasted garlic and Dijon mustard. It was great. And it worked really well. We grilled on Sunday and I used the roasted garlic for that. Yeah.
And then you have garlic oil too.
Mm-hmm.
Just roasted the garlic in there. So you have multiple applications for it.
Yeah.
Are you ready, Lindsay? I'm going to blend.
Yes. Okay.
So this actually comes together very quick.
Okay. This is great. So one of the things that I asked Lauren earlier as well is if I have a bunch of dried beans that I stocked up on early in the pandemic and I wanted to use them in place of like a can of cannellini beans here. She said that you can do them in your Instant Pot, or you can cook from dried beans and then just save some of the bean water, and that you can add to this, and that works as well, which I thought was great. I hope that's true, because that's what you told me.
It is true. I didn't lie to you. I didn't lead you astray. And I'm just going to scrape down a little bit because there's still some yummy macadamia business in here. I'm going to give it one more blend and then it'll be good to go.
Oh my gosh. I am really looking forward to having a new blender. My blender does not accomplish its one job, which is to blend.
Oh no. This thing purrs like a kitten. I love it.
You said you had a Wolf blender that you liked the best, not a Vitamix?
I do have a Wolf blender. I'm slightly spoiled because my husband works for the company. However, I'm not saying this because I'm getting paid, because I would love to, but I don't. I used both of these when I ran Surya, so used them both in a restaurant setting. And honestly, the Vitamix's motors did not last as long as the Wolf. So there you go. Not as good for smoothie bowls because it's got a larger base, but everything else I actually like better.
Nice.
All right, now I'm going to put these in the fridge so that they firm up, but you can see, maybe you can see, I mean, or maybe you're doing it at home and you already know it's very smooth, very creamy, very fluffy from that aquafaba.
Lauren has a beautiful knife on her little cutting board there, and I really want to know who made that knife. The gorgeous knives I've been seeing lately. Alina Taylor.
It is a gorgeous knife, but also look at this. Look at the sheath. Look at the saya. It's got my name wood burned into it. And hold on, we get a little yogic with it. The Light in Me. So my very good friend Jessica Jones wood burned this for me, and my husband made me this, or he made this. He forged this himself. He did not, but he paid for it and then hid it for me for my birthday. And that was like when I realized he was kind of a keeper. He's going to spend like $350 on a knife for me. And I've known him for how long? I know what he's in it for. Okay. So now we've made already 3 of the components of our dish. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start our millet. And if you've never heard of millet before, like my mom, she's like, what is that? I don't know. It is an ancient grain from China. It is a drier grain. It is similar to quinoa, although it is a true grain, not a seed. But similar cooking times. You can probably overcook it, Lindsay, so be careful. And we're just gonna go ahead and put, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So I got half a cup of millet and a cup of water, and we're gonna put it in our pot.
I had never made millet before this recipe. This was my first go at millet. And I cooked it until the water was gone, which turned out to be right. So I'm glad. But also, my wonderful husband, when on the shopping list, he went out and he bought millet flour. So I also have that. Gonna just do some research. I'll figure out how to use it. But we also have millet flour here at the house.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I do always recommend salting your water because it will add flavor into it.
Yeah.
Or using vegetable stock to cook your grains is also equally as good. If not better, but it will discolor them if you're looking for a certain color of your grains, if you care. Do we care? I don't know. All right, and now we are going to saute our leeks and our asparagus. So easy stuff. Leeks, if you've used them before, you know they can be quite dirty, especially if you get them from the local farms. I actually hated cleaning these and scallions while I worked on the farm. It was like the worst job ever. So it's not because we don't try to get the dirt off. It's because it just like grows into it. So this one has actually been cleaned fairly well, but keep an eye out because there could be dirt in your leeks. But if you need extra B12, you'll find it in between the layers of your leeks. So we're just, go ahead, Lindsay.
There was just a question about the millet. So it's a half cup millet and 1 cup of water, right?
Correct.
Got it. Just clarifying that. Yeah, I like to rinse my leeks just in a big bowl of cold water just to make sure all the grit will sink to the ground. But like, I think you and Patrick, my husband, have worked at the same farm.
We have.
The leeks out. Yeah, and I know y'all try. They are sometimes still pretty dirty.
Oh, it's the worst. It's really the worst. And there's nothing worse than also cleaning them in the rain because you're out there in the mud and you're trying to get the stuff out. I worked at 2 farms last year, and at Raleigh Hillside Farm, we were also cleaning scallions, and I was doing it in the rain, in the mud. So, and you kind of have to sit and do it. So I was just sitting in a pool of mud trying to get things clean. Guess how that turned out? Not well. But still, they asked me to come back, so I must have done something right. All right, so I've got my leeks cut. I just like to keep them in rounds because it's simple. You can go, half them if you want. It's totally your choice. It's your day. All right, and then I like to usually have my asparagus long. My husband yells at me because he says that everything that you have on your plate should be a nice bite-sized piece. So again, live your life. All right, so we're gonna toss our leeks into this pan here. I like how I get to call everybody out as I'm talking. It's really nice. Everybody who's wronged me gets called out a little bit. Okay.
We have a good question here about food processors versus blenders. It can be hard to get all the stuff out of the blender. I have found that too, actually, which is part of why I like my immersion blender so much most of the time. But do you end up wasting a lot of the product since you can't remove the blade from the blender?
Actually, this spatula, you see how thin it is? This allows you to get in and around the blades. So it's an OXO spatula, very thin. I love it for that purpose because I do a lot of work in the blender. And so honestly, if you just get a good spatula, you'll waste less. And unfortunately, not all of the recipes are interchangeable. Like do not try to make nut butter in a blender. I don't care who says that you can. Vitamix tells you can make nut butter in a blender. Don't do it. They're not as interchangeable as you would think. So I would like to think that you can have both. and just make sure that you get it really clean without a lot of waste.
Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. So now our leeks are getting nice and brown and caramelized. So once that's happening and they get a little translucent, we're going to throw in our asparagus. And we're going to let that cook up. Lindsay, what other things? Now I feel like I want to ask you all these questions about your questions on my cookbook here. I want to know.
So you have this obsession with these big like punchy flavor boosters in the book. So I made the pecan parmesan and the shiitake bacon. So I bought liquid smoke for the first time. And the pecan parmesan, it's just like pecans and nutritional yeast, and you toast it up, and I couldn't stop eating it out of the pan. I like texted you. I was like, what is
this?
How do you find those recipes? Like are those things that you've sort of come across in your cooking career? Like
some of them, like some of the recipes that I come across them and I make them and I think I can do better. It needs this, and this. And some of the other ones, it's just like, I love to snack on this and I want to find ways to incorporate it into everything. And so I work from there. But yeah, a lot of the ones, or even meat-based recipes, I find that I no longer eat anymore, and I want to make something that kind of gives me that same mouthfeel or like the same roastiness or some sort of same components of it. And then I find something that's plant-based that I can do the same with that would be kind of similar.
Yeah. I loved the pepitas. I did like a chili pepita for one of them.
Yeah.
I tend to get a little testy when recipes have me do a lot of sub recipes, like make the recipe. Like I'll do like one, maybe two, but like there's a lot of sub recipes, things you have to make in order to make the main recipe. I get irritable and I move on.
Oh, you would have hated my cookbook then. No.
Lord. No, it's fine, because one of the things that you do very well, which I like a lot, is that I make one maple Dijon vinaigrette and I used it in like 3 different things. That's fine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like I will allow it.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah, of course, right.
Next cookbook that I write, I'm giving to you to trial and give me your feedback, because I see all your sticky notes in there and I'm like, what is it? Yeah. But also I like to encourage people to batch, because when you're talking about healthy eating, batching is super important. Or if you have a busy lifestyle or you have kids and you have a family, like a lot of the time it's all too much. So if you can batch on a Sunday and just make a sauce and make some grains, make some legumes, like you're good. You can mix and match. You can make it Italian, you can make it Asian. You can make it Mediterranean with all just different sauces and a few other components. And so I didn't outright say it, but that's what I like to do with my cookbook as well.
Yeah. I almost texted you when I couldn't get my flax eggs to become flax eggs. Because they just wouldn't, like, it's just flax and hot water and it's like a substitute in vegan baking. Yes, Sally, the book is available in Madison. It's available at Orange Tree Imports and on Lauren's website, The Vibrant Veg. I'm just answering.
And also Brick Cider out in Mount
Vernon. So I looked at Brick Cider's webpage and I couldn't find it on there, but if it might physically be there, and it's just not on the internets.
All right, I'm gonna get on Marie for that. Marie, if you're watching.
But yeah, so my flax eggs did not come together, and I kept reading on the internet that they have to gelatinize in order to work in your baking recipe, and they did not.
Oh no.
So I ended up using eggs and cheating, but they tasted great.
So if you put it in the fridge, sometimes that will quicken the process, the gelatinizing process.
I tried it.
It didn't work. Oh no. You have some uncooperative flax.
Yeah, I mean, it could. Yeah.
That's all we're gonna say about it. You did great. You did everything that you were supposed to do. That's all right. That's all we can do is try. And honestly, like sometimes I don't have the patience to wait for it to get like jelly gooey, and I just put it in, and you know what? It turns out it still binds things.
See, there you go. I should have just done it. I was nervous.
Just do it. Oh, don't be nervous. Just go for it. We'll see. I always say just go for it. If it doesn't turn out, then you've learned a valuable lesson and you go from there, you know.
Yes.
But I've also screwed up a lot of things. My first apple pie I ever made, I decided I was going to do the whole thing from scratch, just like grandma. And the recipe did not tell me to peel the apples. So I didn't peel the apples. And I went for it and it was gross. But I ate the whole thing because I made it and I wanted to pretend that it was good. But so, you know, everybody screws up. All right.
Roasted veggies
Woo!
done. Woo.
Whoa, do you guys see this? So much steam. Look at these sexy stacks. I call vegetables sexy a lot. And am I the only one that does that? Does anybody else do it? No? All right. Like especially lettuce. Oh, like fresh on the farm, just these beautiful growing little heads of lettuce are just, I don't know. They're sexy. What do I say? All right. I'm sorry, Lindsay, was I interrupting you?
No, I wanted, as you're getting ready to supreme that orange, I just wanted to tell you a little story about that because my wonderful editor, Chris Murphy, and I were like checking out the recipe before we were sending it out to everybody. And he was like, Supreme is a verb. And I was like, yes, supreme is a verb. It's really hard. It's annoying. I'm bad at it.
Technically, Lindsay, it's the prom.
Supreme. See, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So, but I've tried to do it in the past and I just massacre the fruit until my dear friend Lauren, another Lauren, there are so many Laurens, told me basically that I have to be willing to lose some of the fruit, like be willing to lose more of the fruit to make a pretty segment. And if I had just thought of that, but anyway, so I'm super excited for you to show people how to supreme this orange because it has been like a hill that I've had to climb personally.
And I've had a lot of instruction on doing this, particularly from my husband, which I think I told you in the past. If there is any white that is left on my segments, like the wrath of God comes down and I'm just like scrutinized. So I spent a lot of time just like crying over oranges. Like, I don't know, am I doing it right? So like, don't do that. It'll be okay. I'm not going to hunt you down. I'm not going to stick Chef Kyle on you and he's not going to come to your house and make you cry, but I am going to show you the proper way to do this. So you start by cutting off both of the ends and you have to lose the fruit. Basically you're following the curvature of the fruit and you're trying not to get any of that pith on there because that pith is going to detract from the beauty of the orange segments. And like I said in the recipe, if this scares you, don't do it. Just peel it and put it on the salad. We're going for a new skill here, but if you don't want to do it or you're worried about cutting yourself, forget about it. Just peel it and put it on there. So you can kind of see I'm coming along here. Oh, see right here? That would be a slap on the wrist. But no one's judging me, right? We're not in front of a bunch of people.
It's your food.
This is what we're going for. So it's nice and round. There's no pith on there. So we've got all of the peel off. And then this is the intimidating part. You've got to trust yourself here. And we're going to come in just like you used to kind of like use a knife to cut your grapefruit. We're going to come in and peel out these little tiny segments. So we're just coming along there. And this is going to really familiarize you with your knife and also tell you if you need to make a trip to Wisconsin Cutlery to get it sharpened. But once you get good at it, you can knock these things out pretty fast, but don't try to be fast. If you're not fast, enjoy the process of this. And then when you're all done, you can squeeze the orange juice out of this kind of remaining carnage here onto your oranges. Or what I like to do, especially since these are going on a salad, is I'm going to save this juice and I'm going to just add it into my vinaigrette. So I'm not going to squeeze it just yet. I'm going to be making my vinaigrette now, which I just put my oranges in my vinaigrette bowl. So I'm going to be taking a 1/4 cup of olive oil. Already got some orange juice in there. 2 tablespoons of sherry vinegar. And again, if you don't have sherry vinegar, I would recommend you get some because it's delicious. But if you don't have it, you can feel free to swap out apple cider vinegar, balsamic vinegar, whatever you've got. And then we've got a teaspoon here of Dijon mustard. And then I'm also going to add just a little bit of salt and pepper to that. And then I'm going to take my orange and just squeeze it into there to give it just a little bit of sweetness. And then you're just going to whisk it.
I like to use a mason jar and like make a
And
double
just shake
batch.
it?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's perfect.
And then you've got extra for later when you're making a salad later.
Right, because you don't want to have to end up making, I mean, this is super easy, but you don't want to have to end up making a bunch of different dressings because then you take a look at a recipe like mine and you're like, oh my God, there's too many things for me to do. I can't possibly. All right, so we're going to check our millet. It is all done. Not too dry, not too wet. And so it's all been evaporated in there, all of the water. So we're going to take our millet out. You can see it's nice and fluffy. It's a very dry grain when compared to quinoa. And actually, if you're talking about Ayurveda, it is perfect for this season. We are technically coming into kapha season, which tends to be a very wet season. And so it tends to make us feel really damp and heavy. So you need light things to counterbalance that. So this is a very dry, light, fluffy grain. You also want bitter foods and astringent foods. So things like arugula that we're going to add to here are also really excellent to help balance out that wet energy. Then I just take all of it. I really like vinaigrettes. I'm going to let that soak in. You don't have to do all of it. But I'm going to take that. I'm going to add in my vegetables, let those sit in there and soak up that flavor. While I get ready to plate everything else. I'm not going to add the arugula yet because we don't want it to get very wilty, but we want this to just sit and soak because it can take the flavor.
Nice. We had a question in the chat. The orange that you used, is that a seedless navel orange?
It is a seedless navel orange and it is delicious. I actually had a case of them at work and so good right now. So good. I had to try to, and then, when I'm not in front of the camera and I have this waste, I just right off of there, then there's no waste at all, right? No harm, no foul.
I feel like we used one of the peels we got from our orange in a cocktail.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can do all that fancy stuff. You can take a peeler and peel it off and then twist it and express the aromas and the oils. I don't know. Oliver's used to have so many fancy cocktails. I couldn't keep them all straight. All right, now we're going to be working on our assembly here. So this is where you get to be fancy. So we're going to do a little bit of a swoosh here. So we've got our bean puree. Getting kind of arts and craftsy with it. So you're going to make a pile and just swoosh it across. Impress all your friends. All right.
So
go ahead.
There's a comment in the chat that I just realized. I may have, in editing the recipe, I may have forgotten to include the arugula, which I think I had in my original and just must have.
Sabotage, Lindsay.
Oh my gosh. I think it was me, you guys. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
there is arugula in this.
My copy.
I know it is in your copy, and I'm sure it's in the copy that I've marked up with all my writing. Well, that's all right.
If you have another green, you go with that. Yeah, so
I am so sorry.
Spring mix, if you have kale, I was gonna say romaine, maybe not, but maybe. Who you know,
Reputation destroyed. That's all it
spinach.
took.
Oh my God. Well, hey, at least it was your screw up and not mine. So that makes me happy. I mean, it doesn't make me happy that you guys at home don't have arugula, but like, it's okay. It's okay. We all move on. We all make mistakes. Okay. So now we're going to make our little stacks. So I didn't mention this earlier, but I think you put this in the recipe to try to choose similar sized produce. So if you had really itty bitty beets and a really massive squash, your stack is going to be a little disjointed looking, but that's okay because it's going to taste delicious. I made sure, especially since I'm doing what I'm doing here on camera in front of all of you, that mine were matched in size. So this is what's going to make this a showstopper for when you're trying to impress your date or impress your families. We're going to put our cheese on there. And we're just going to start to build and stack these things. And you can do this, like you said, Lindsay, you can switch up the recipe and make them with all different sorts of vegetables. You could do it with eggplant. You could do it with different colored potatoes. You could do it with spring vegetables. Once it gets to be zucchini and squash season, you'd have to cut them pretty wide, but it's very versatile. All right. We've got a little leaning tower here.
I just edited the recipe to add the cup of arugula. I am sorry, everyone, but it is in there now.
Awesome. All right. So we've got our little stack. Mine's got a bit of a lean to it. It's got some personality, just like me. All right. But look at that. Look at those colors. It's beautiful. All right. But because we need more colors than just that, then it's time to add our arugula to our salad over here and mix it up and mix it in. And then we also have some fresh dill. So you can, I've got a 1/4 cup in the recipe, but I love dill. And now it's going to be spring. So we want all of those really nice spring flavors. So I put a 1/2 cup in. I'm a rebel. And we're going to mix that in.
I did measure that when I was editing the recipe, and a 1/4 cup of dill, which is called for in the recipe, is about a clamshell. Like it's about what you get at the store. So if you want extra dill, get 2.
Perfect. All right. So there is our big pile of green delicious. And now we're going to garnish it with our orange segments here. And then top it with pistachios. And just because, we'll put a little bit over here too. Ta-da!
It's so pretty.
And here is our completed dish. You have somebody over, serve them this, and tell me that their jaw will not drop to the floor because it's stunning. It's beautiful. They're going to be like, what is this masterpiece? What did you do? And then you say, Chef Lauren taught me how. Buy her cookbook.
Yeah. So one of the things I was hoping you could talk a little bit about are some of your favorite like vegan condiments or like things to have in your pantry. Like if you want to start eating more vegetable focused food, do you have like a top 5?
I do. So we spoke a little bit about some of them earlier. Raw cashews for sure. If you're trying to wean yourself off dairy, cashews are the #1 go-to. You can make creamy sauces, you can make cheeses, you can make cheesecakes, desserts. They're really good for anything. Frosting. You can turn them into absolutely anything. So I always like to have those on hand. They can get a little bit expensive. If you're into buying bulk, there's a site called IFS Bulk. It's International Food Source. Cashews are so cheap. They're not local, but they're not local anyway. So that's my pro tip. And then nutritional yeast we spoke about. That makes anything cheesy. And like I said, it's packed full of protein and also B vitamins. Chia and flaxseed, amazing sources of nutrients, omegas, proteins. and also to make your eggs out of. So a lot of these vegan alternative baking recipes will call for flax egg or chia egg. They're interchangeable. So it's basically ground flaxseed, 1 tablespoon to 3 tablespoons of water. And it should coagulate for you unless you are magic like Lindsay, and then I won't do it.
I think maybe I added too much water. This is one of the.
Did you add more than 3 tablespoons of water?
I didn't think so. Anyway,
I bet you didn't. You're a rule follower. I'm sure you followed all the rules. And then honestly, packing your pantry full of beans, like you saw right now, you can make a puree out of them. You can make soups out of them. You can serve them as a side, and they're going to be one of your main sources of proteins. So keep beans. If you don't feel like you want to cook them from dry, an Instapot is awesome. Black beans will cook in about 18 minutes. So Instapot is actually on my list of equipment that you should definitely have at your home, vegan or not. I love it. You will foolproof cook your rice, all of your grains. You can make soups and stews in it. You can hold things hot in it. It's amazing. And then also the last thing that I would have on hand, especially if you're an active individual, is a good protein powder. I know that I probably have a little bit more movement than what I can get just through Whole Foods, which I eat a ton of. But it's nice to be able to supplement and also bake with a protein powder. So I actually use it in a lot of baking, which hopefully soon-ish, like years, I'll have a second cookbook just of sweets and treats. And yeah, then you can give yourself a nice like protein brownie after a workout instead of like slugging on a protein shake. So those are the foods that I would recommend. Also miso. Miso is great to have on hand. Go to any of your local Asian grocers and you will just be floored by all of the products that they have, like miso, gochujang, jackfruit. They have it all, and for really, really stinking cheap prices. So just if you can handle the fish smell, go in there and explore all of them because they're wonderful. And also ask a lot of the staff be at Ho over on Monona Drive. The owner is so knowledgeable, and anything I don't know about, he's happy to tell me about. So use these people as resources. Like, they're phenomenal.
Yeah.
For equipment, I already mentioned the Instapot. Also a good blender, which we touched on earlier. I'm going to wait for that video of yours to come out, Lindsay, when you smash the old like 70s Oster that you probably have in your cupboard. And then also a really great food processor. Because like I said earlier, these things are going to do your work for you. So if you invest in a good one, it's going to save you so much time.
Nice.
Yeah.
So a couple questions popping up here in the chat. Do you recommend making a flax egg over using a product like the Energy Egg Replacer?
I personally do. Flax is more affordable, and then you're getting all of the benefits, all of the health benefits that flax has, where the Energy Replacer doesn't necessarily have those same benefits. I always like to choose whole foods over the stuff that is created when possible.
Yeah. Someone had a question about vegan protein powder versus like those that are dairy based. Do you have any brands that you like?
Yes, I have a lot of brands that I like. My favorite brand, which is too expensive for me to buy regularly, is called Sun Warrior. But I love that. When I am trying to go on the cheap, I go for Vega One or Orgain. And Vega One has a sport that actually gives you, for one scoop, 30 grams of protein. But it's crazy. So then you don't have to like drink so much of like the chalky nast. Like it's actually quite tasty.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
and they're all pea protein based.
I was also wondering, there were several things as we sort of talked through this recipe, like the raw versus the toasted macadamia nuts, the type of miso, where you were like, oh, just whatever you have, like you can use whatever you have. So without like traveling the world and going to culinary school, how do you recommend that people develop that kind of culinary confidence?
Try it. Honestly, like, okay, I know that that's kind of my feedback for everything. But honestly, a lot of what I did was trial and error. Like, I really like to watch how food behaves, and I like to watch, taste everything throughout the process to know when to add a little bit more. And maybe I was blessed with a good palate. But honestly, yeah, I didn't go to culinary school. I didn't have anybody showing me these things. And when I learned abroad, sometimes the women didn't even speak English, and it was like moving my hands and showing me how to work with this stuff, which I think is invaluable. It's a skill that we can be taught without language, actually. So, like, just learning to interact with your food, it's not the enemy. Getting to know it and form that relationship with it as you cook it is so important. And just don't be afraid of screwing up, because then you're going to put that energy out there. And it's just like this fear of failure that we all have, and all the time, pretty much. And definitely when we cook, it's not that bad. It's going to be okay. If you bought red miso instead of white miso, unless your palate is highly attuned to that, it's probably going to be fine. There's probably some culinary person out there being like, it's not the same, but like, it'll be all right. And it's kind of like a canvas, in that you can continuously move and shape and create as you go, but that's also why I'm not a baker.
That's really wonderful.
After it goes in the oven, it's too late.
Yeah, you can't. So actually, that's a nice segue, because our next event for Cooking with the Cap Times is going to be with a baker. Olivia Tierney has been at the Heights for a couple of years. She's currently with Garver Events. April 22nd is the date for that one, and we're going to be braiding challah in the kitchen that you're in right now. And awesome. I'm going to attempt to make challah. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to find out some things I didn't know before, which is happening every single one of these. But I wanted to say thank you. We're gonna have Chelsea come back on and wrap this up. But I wanted to thank you for doing this. Thank you for your beautiful food, for your wonderful cookbook. Again, Grounded. I'm like promoting it because I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed cooking out of this. The curry, I recommend making the curry. I recommend the carrot cake cookies. They are a big hit with toddlers. Not my toddlers, my friends' toddlers. But I had a blast cooking out of this, and there's still a couple things that I haven't yet made, but the shiitake bacon and the pecan parmesan alone, like, worth the price. They're amazing. And they're gone in my house. I made them like 3 days ago. So, but thank you, Lauren. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Happy dining.
That was amazing, you guys. I can't wait to try this dish.
Do you think you get to?
I mean, try making it at home.
No, I'm gonna feed it to you.
No.
Yes,
no.
I am.
So good. Thank you, Lindsay, our wonderful host, amazing food writer at the Cap Times. I'm just jumping on here to thank everyone for watching again, and also to thank our sponsors one last time. Thank you to Stick to Salmon Shares. Thank you to Kessenich, the beautiful kitchen that we're in. We're gonna be here during every one of these events going forward. And then thank you to Una Bay Booch for being our official beverage sponsor. We will be emailing those 6 winners to let them know they won some delicious booch and some sweet Kessenich swag. You might get one of these hats. You never know. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
You were amazing.
But I do for real want you to